Welcome everyone to the January 21st, 2020 Whitehall City Council meeting. I'd like to start with a moment of silence and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like the clerk to please call roll.
Elmore.
Present.
Coniston.
Present.
Cantor.
Present.
Peck.
Present.
Morrison.
Present.
Bailey.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Present.
President Potter.
Present. Thank you. At this time, I'll move for a motion for the approval of minutes of the January 7th, 2020 agenda and regular meeting minutes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 7th minutes.
Second. A motion is made by Councilman Coniston, seconded by Mr. Cantor. Clerk, please call roll.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Cantor.
Yes.
Peck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
It's passed. We now have a special presentation.
Mr. President,
Oh, thank you, Chris.
at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Bob Bailey as President Pro Tem for the next two-year council session.
Okay, there's been a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, with a second by Mr. Cantor for the nomination of Bob Bailey for Council President Pro Tem for the next two-year term. Clerk, will you please call roll?
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Cantor.
Yes.
Peck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Abstain.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion has been approved. Now, we'll move to the special presentation. We have Jim Schreiner from Broad and James Towing. Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Schreiner, and I represent Broad and James Towing.
Please proceed.
I'm not sure exactly how to go about this, but that's where I'm going to start here. So, thank you for hearing me, allowing me to speak tonight. I have brought some copies of my speech too, and handed out to the ones I got. The ones I had, I didn't have quite enough. But, Broad and James Towing has been in business for 47 years. We've enjoyed working with the City of Whitehall for many of these years. We tow 24 hours per day, every day, 365 days a year. To my knowledge, we have never turned down a request from the Whitehall Police or from the City of Whitehall. Broad and James Towing recently borrowed nearly $500,000 to upgrade our impound storage facility, which also includes indoor storage, which can be used by law enforcement when they need to have something under protection. In addition to our other trucks, we recently purchased a 70,000-pound wrecker, so we can be sure to handle heavy-duty towing for law enforcement. We have sent all of our tow truck drivers through Wreckmaster training. We made these purchases, borrowed this money, and trained these drivers, expecting to maintain the level of consistency we have for the past many years with the City of Whitehall. Whitehall has always had two towing companies on their rotation, as far back as I know. However, within the past year, the Whitehall Police have added several additional towing companies. One of them nearly approximately 14 miles away, up around Sinclair Road, North Morris Road. The City of Whitehall, I believe, owes its officers and its citizens a reputable towing company with reputable drivers, responsible employees, and a location within a reasonable distance from the police station and the courthouse. After reviewing the city's vehicle towing and release policy, in order for the Whitehall police officers and the Whitehall citizens to receive the excellent service that they deserve, I believe the towing companies need to meet and maintain certain criteria. I am here to propose additional requirements for the city's vehicle towing and release policy, which is section 502.8, towing service requirements. I'll read off the one what I suggest they do here. The towing company's office and storage lot must be located a maximum of 3 miles from the Whitehall city limits. The towing company must have been in business under the current ownership for a minimum of 5 years. The towing company must operate a fenced storage lot capable of holding a minimum of 100 cars with inside storage available. The towing company must own or lease a minimum of 3 tow trucks. These trucks must include a light-duty wrecker, a light-duty rollback, and a medium-duty or larger 16-ton or larger tow truck. A Whitehall city official should annually inspect the storage lot. The towing company should maintain a minimum of 90% acceptance of calls and meet a 20-minute ETA a minimum of 90% of the time. The towing company should have on-site personnel to release vehicles and belongings during normal business hours. The towing company must maintain Ohio workers' compensation on all of its employees, and the towing company must maintain a minimum of $1 million insurance liability with on-hook coverage. These are minimum guidelines to be added to the current towing service requirements. By getting qualified personnel and quality equipment on the scene of an accident or an impound, the road will be reopened quicker and more efficiently. These requirements will make Whitehall a safer, a better place for business, residents, and police officers. There's a second page that I sent. I didn't make enough copies for everybody. I'm sorry about that. I brought up 9 of them. So if you have any questions, I'm here to entertain them or advice on how to go forward further on this.
Okay. Anything further?
Do you know where I would go the next step maybe or after this, or would you guys take it further, or should I present it somewhere else or have somebody sponsor it? This is unfamiliar territory for me.
Well, this would require a change in legislation, so that would typically come from council, but can also come from the administration based on their interest and their guidance of what they feel would be best.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you.
That now brings us to our first poll public of the evening. I would ask people who wish to make a comment to come forward, state their name and address, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to make your comments.
Name and address. Gerald Dixon, 3877 Doney Street. Good evening, Happy New Year. I've come to you tonight to speak out on an issue I felt was my responsibility to do so, particularly as an American citizen. That issue I speak of is the introduction of legislation which would involve my government granting themselves the right to stick their nose in the liberties of citizens' backyards. It is nothing more than a tromping on of citizens' rights guaranteed us by our supreme law, the U.S. Constitution, that which all of you took an oath, a sworn oath, to support. This legislation initiated by our government was unethically born out of their abusing the privilege of viewing photos of residents' backyards taken by entities whose otherwise innocuous business it was to record them, and then conveniently taking advantage of them by Whitehall administration in order to spy into the private affairs of citizens' backyards to initiate their own scurrilous, money-motivated, Fourth Amendment flouting corporate standard. It cannot stand. Here's some legislation as an alternative. A law that forbids one government entity the ability to use another government agency's sanctioned photos for anything other than their intended original purpose. Now that's helping the citizens. So then, given this legislation's truer foundation, the thievery of citizens' personal liberty and the encroachment on citizens' constitutional rights, and that's exactly what it is, I ask you to remember your most basic obligation here in the people's government, that you are the guarantor of the citizens' right and not their grantor. It is no feather in your caps towards your first obligation that this administration, led by Mayor Kim Maggard, is allowed by you to continue flouting the U.S. Constitution and eschew ethics, reason, and respect for law and its spirit. Based on their own morality, they can try anything they want, but it falls to you, the citizens' elected representatives, to act as the bulwark against such attacks, particularly for those who can't afford to comply with whatever hoops this administration has come up with for them to jump through this month. Given this, then, I ask you to do your sworn duty and reject this latest bid to undermine our Constitution and give it the death it so rightly deserves. I ask you to not give credence to those things which undermine citizens' rights, but instead to that which ensures the citizens of Whitehall that their rights are being properly respected and served. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to come forward?
My name's Don Miner. I live here in Whitehall. I have since 2000. Me and my wife moved here. We bought a double lot, and the reason part of the why I'm here is because this ordinance over this parking crap. I mean, the state of Ohio says that I can own 6 vehicles. They have them registered to me. But now you're coming down to tell me that I'm only going to be allowed to park maybe 1 or 2 of them in my driveway. And there's a reason why I bought my property, because I have a large driveway. I've been a mechanic for 35 years, and I like to restore cars on my hobby. Okay? And to me, this is kind of like me coming in your house, and you have an antique furniture in your house, and deciding that I don't like your furniture, so you got to get rid of it. Man, I mean, it's just totally ludicrous. I mean, I have probably about 6 classic cars, okay, in my possession right now. I just got done finishing a 1970 Caprice Classic. It spent me 3 years putting it together. It's in the body shop now, getting painted. Okay? I mean, this is what I do for my hobby. I love it. And then now, it's pretty much going to be, looks of it, be taken away from me. I mean, what happens to my freedoms here to do things? I mean, I bought the property in 2000. I didn't have all these ordinances to deal with. Now, all of a sudden, they're all getting thrown at us. I mean, it's just not fair to a lot of us. I mean, some of us have rights to enjoy things that others don't like, maybe. But just because they don't like them, we got to have ours taken away. I mean, I don't understand the way these people think around here sometimes. If you really want to work on a problem that you got, the biggest problem you got right now is you've got kids that are out of control, and you've got a crime factor with drugs, which is part of the problem with your abandoned car stuff. I realize there's a problem going on here with that too, that he's taken care of, okay? And then, I'm not saying everybody is within the standards it should be, but there's some people that, like me, my cars don't have weeds growing up around them. I keep my lot clean. I keep everything cleaned up, so it's presentable. It looks good from the street. Now, my back alley, on the other hand, here lately last year, has become a nightmare, okay? Because I've got kids that's done $5,000 worth of damage to my property. I got my other neighbors, which are suffering from the same problems. We have privacy fences, get the boards ripped off them, busted out, glass down the streets. We got people that are running drugs that don't want to get rid of their trash and dumps, so they throw it out in the back alley. So we got spare tires now, laying down the alley and everything else, had refrigerators, had mattresses, all kinds of crap in there. And this has been going on like this for the last year or so. But then that looks bad on us, it makes us look like it's the neighbors that's doing it. It ain't us. It's the people coming down that alley doing a lot of the stuff. And why some of the property is looking the way it is. And unless we put a stop to these problems, it's going to get worse. It's going to look a lot worse. Because I'm getting to the point now in my garage, I have to put boards over my windows. I've got to put bars over my windows because I got people busting out the glass and everything else. So it's not the cars that are a problem. It's the people we have coming into this neighborhood that are a problem.
Thank you. You're coming up on your 3 minutes.
So, you know, I have to admit here, generally, in the last year or so, me and my wife had some financial problems. My wife had a heart attack. I got sick shortly after that. Some things I was in the middle of doing got put on hold because of that. So I was in the middle of getting rid of some stuff. We ended up setting here. because I didn't want it there.
Sir, you're coming up on your 3 minutes if you could.
Okay. Anyway, just to make a long story short, that stuff's going anyway, but I realize that people who are having abandoned cars with windows busted out and rats going up around and stuff like that is a problem in this neighborhood because it breeds rats and all kinds of stuff like that too, for a dumb place to live, rat babies and whatever. So, but there are others of us that are doing what we can to keep our property nice. A lot of times, I take care of half the neighborhood. I clean out the alley.
Sir, again,
Sir.
you're on your, before you step away, can you please give your address? I don't believe you had mentioned that when you were.
660 Westfall.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward? Hearing nothing, we'll now go to our standing committee reports. Administration and Financial Management, Chairperson Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration Financial Management did meet last Tuesday. We have very few items on the agenda tonight to be introduced, but we will meet again next Tuesday and our minutes are on file.
Thank you. Community and Elder Advocacy, Chairperson Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community and Elder Advocacy met last Tuesday. We have no drafts for pending legislation. Our minutes are on file. We will meet again next Tuesday, sometime at 6:30 in the back. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Standards and Enforcement, Chairperson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community Standards and Enforcement met last week. We have several items on the agenda this evening. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
Terrific, thank you. Economic Development, Chairperson Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Economic Development also met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
Thank you. Infrastructure, Maintenance and Services, Chairperson Heck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Infrastructure Maintenance and Services met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file. We have no drafts or pending legislation. We will meet next Tuesday, 6:30 or after in the back.
Thank you. Public Safety, Chairperson Coniston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety met last week. Our minutes are on file, and we'll meet again in the back sometime after 6:30 next week.
Thank you also. Parks and Recreation, Chairperson Cantor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Parks and Recreation met last week. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again next week, and Parks has a lot coming up. Pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Official reports, Mayor Maggard.
Good evening. I would just like to give a big thank you to Attorney Bivens for the wonderful program that you organized and set up yesterday in honor of Martin Luther King. We had some wonderful students come from Whitehall Yearling High School who read Martin Luther King's rendition of The Other America, and it was very moving. And these students were intelligent, they were passionate, and they were asked questions at the end of the program that showed me that there is a future for our youth in the United States of America. They were very coherent in what they were saying, and they talked about their passion for the United States and what it could be. And I just want to again say thank you for that. Also, Joy Bivens, Director of Franklin County Job and Family Services was here, and she gave an update on the Poverty Initiative reduction, and it was very interesting, and I think that it's definitely a starting point, and we need to always have a starting point in order to succeed. But thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Michael Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. I'd like to begin with saying thank you to our Attorney General Yost for hosting the Symposium on Human Trafficking. My office recently attended that symposium at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. The information that was shared was riveting. I don't know if members of council or the members of public know, that is a passion project as it relates to the chief. Chief Crispin across the street, and my office wanted to partner with the Whitehall Division of Police with respect to human trafficking. I'll tell you one thing, I learned something very significant, is that that it's not all sex trafficking. There's an aspect of human trafficking that is economic related and is an employment related. And so to the extent that my office can partner with the Whitehall Police Department in order to eradicate it within our 5 square miles, I stand ready to do that. Next, I would also like to thank Councilmember Lori Elmore in her capacity as chairperson of Community and Elder Advocacy for partnering with me for the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration that we had yesterday. Let me just start off by saying, with respect to that, I love the city of Whitehall. My wife and I have been residents here. We've done everything that we can to dig ourselves in and to entrench ourselves into the culture of Whitehall. And the culture of Whitehall from the day that we moved here to this day is a culture that is inclusive, that is diverse, and that is constantly looking for ways to improve ourselves. Our motto is, we are the city of opportunity, and yesterday we saw that firsthand with the students that came here. And I'll tell you just how it started. It was initially in my heart to offer a scholarship of $250 per student to a male or to a female. And as soon as I laid it out there in faith, my wife said, well, I'll match you with, so that turned into $500 per student. And then as of yesterday, I don't know why in the heck any person would not want to accept any responsibility for it, but some people just are like that. But it changed again to another $200 per student, so it went from $500 per student to $700 per student. And then by the time we ended, Councilmember Elmore chimed in, and she's going to jump in and add another $200 per student. So these students yesterday are now going to receive a scholarship as it relates to the Other America in the amount of $900 towards the college of their choice once they go. And both of these students, my God, are college bound. I'll tell you one of the quotes of Martin Luther King, and I won't say the whole thing, but it's in his speech, Our God is Marching On, in 1965. He says, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Yesterday we saw justice, and we saw the moral universe come together and at least planting the seed with those young people. And I thank the city of Whitehall for your part in bringing this along, and I thank you, City Council, for having the faith to allow it to happen. I'm just looking forward to those seeds being planted and what's going to happen in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Very nice report. Very good news. City Auditor, Dan Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official report tonight other than what you have before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Development and Public Service, Zach Woodruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official report this evening.
Thank you. Director of Public Service, Director of Public Safety, Van Gregg. I just almost changed your job.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official reports.
Been paying up for him.
Thank you. Treasurer Steve Quinzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too have no official reports.
Thank you. The following officials' reports have been filed in the council office since our last meeting. The auditor's expense report for December 2019, the auditor's bank report for December 2019, the auditor's statement of cash position report for December 2019, the auditor's revenue report for December 2019, the treasurer's investment report for December 2019, the treasurer's activity by fund report for December 2019, the treasurer's fund reconciliation report for December 2019, and the mayor's report to council for November and December of 2019. Under communications, petitions, and claims, we have no items listed on the agenda this evening. I'll now ask the clerk to take a roll call on whether each member of council was given a copy of each item of legislation listed on the agenda prior to the meeting, including any legislation. Clerk, please call roll.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Cantor?
Yes.
Peck?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thank you. Under third reading, there is no legislation this evening. Second reading, likewise, there is no legislation for second reading this evening. Under first reading, we have ordinance 002-2020, which will be title only this evening, amending section 903.32, parking of motor vehicles on lawns prohibited to include rear yards. Next, we have ordinance 003-2020, also title only, amending section 1126-13, limitation of parking in residential districts to add a lot maximum for impervious parking area. Ordinance 004-2020, also will be read title only this evening, amending section 1123.10C titled General Commerce District, special permit uses in the codified ordinances of the City of Whitehall to add brewery and distillery facilities. Next, ordinance 005-2020, also title only, amending 1125.17D, storage of garbage at non-residential structures of the codified ordinances for the City of Whitehall. Next, we have resolution number 1-2020, resolving to approve the then and now certificates and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Resolution 1-2020 and move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
Ordinance has been brought forward by Councilman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Heck. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion is passed for to go on first reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
Sorry, Jim.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Yes.
Morrison, Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
The resolution has been adopted. Now is time for our second poll public. The folks who would like to come forward and speak on a different issue that has not already been spoken on prior to this.
You mean by the same person?
Yes, by the same person.
Gerald Dixon, 3877 Doney Street. This is a different viewpoint.
It's the same topic.
The same topic, but a different
If it's the same
viewpoint.
topic, you get,
But it's a different viewpoint. It's not
it's
addressing.
still the same topic. You
But
get
it's
an
not
opportunity.
addressing it. So are you saying that this is completely different?
So it's not going to be talking about what you talked about before?
That has an underpinning, but it's not the same, no.
Well, I beg to differ. I believe that it is.
Can you find out?
I'm telling you, I believe if it's going to be the same
But
topic,
it's not.
then there will be no discussion of that ordinance.
Mr. Graham, you taught him this. You taught him this to treat people like this. I'm a citizen, and I have something to say
Mr.
about
Dixon,
something
these are
that's
rules of
different.
council.
I have something to say.
If you would like to speak on a different subject, you're welcome to. If it's the same subject, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down.
It is a topic towards the mayor and her handling of situations. Are you saying that I may not speak to my representative body?
I'm saying
It's
you're not
about the
speaking on the
mayor.
same, now if you're just going to call the mayor out,
It is about the mayor. You're telling me what topics I can and can't.
I'm saying you
No.
cannot speak to what you've already spoken about.
This is about the mayor to my representative body. These people who represent me, a citizen of Whitehall. Will you allow me to address my council?
I'm afraid I don't see where you're going with this. And I'm going to have to ask you to sit down.
So you're denying my right to speak?
Because it appears it's going to be on the same subject, yes, and I do not.
But it appearing, it doesn't know. You don't know. You're saying it appears. You don't even know what's on my paper.
You.
No, that's all right. Camera's running.
Thank you.
City of Whitehall denies citizens the right to speak. No, it's true.
Jim Grant, 644 Greenwood Road. If I'm a little nervous, you'll have to excuse me. This is the first time I've ever done this. So I'm here tonight to, it is the first time I've ever done this. I'm here tonight to let you know that I support, and I ask for your favorable decision. consideration on ordinance 2 and 3, 2020. You know, I understand how this can be a controversial issue, and some may view it as an infringement on their individual rights as a property owner, to do as they please on their own property. Well, you know, we already regulate certain things that a person can do. You can't put up a garage on your property without first going and making sure that it's proper to put up. There's certain easements and stuff that you have to pay attention to. You're supposed to pick up your garbage the day after it's been picked up. You're not supposed to leave your cans out on the street. You're not supposed to have your garbage stored in your front yard. Those are a couple things that are regulated to a person's property. The thing is that nothing could be further from the truth as far as trying to infringe on somebody's rights. But you know what? With rights comes some responsibilities. And in this case, I think it means that we all take the responsibility of being respectful of the rights of others. You know, freedom of speech is a right in the Constitution, but you don't have the right to go and yell fire in a crowded theater if there is none, just because you feel like it. And that's why we have rules in the first place, to spell things out. Often rules are viewed as having a negative impact on a small group, but they usually have a positive impact on the majority. That's what democracy is. You know, it's about looking out for everybody. This is not about you, it's not about me, it's about everyone. Everyone that lives in this city will be impacted by these pieces of legislation. The ordinances will protect property values and the right to enjoy the view from your own backyard. That should be a right. I should have the right to stand in my backyard and look out and say, oh, okay, I don't have to look at a junker car. And I want to point out one thing here that maybe people are overlooking, is that this refers to parking in the grass. It does not say anything about parking on an improved surface or what we would consider to be a driveway or whatever. It's talking about parking on the grass. We already limit parking on the grass in a front or side yard. This is merely an extension of that, and I think it's a very good extension of that. You know, as elected officials, looking out for the property values of everyone in this city is part of your responsibility. This is going to make our city more attractive to residents and for those that are passing through. And isn't that what we're always trying to do here? To make this a city that people want to be a part of? I think this will go a long way in doing that. So passage of these ordinances will benefit property owners, and I think it's also will benefit the city as a whole in the future.
Jim, we're getting a little close on time. I hate to.
Okay, no problem. Like I said, first time I've ever done this.
Fair enough. I've got to be
No problem.
fair and balanced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anybody else care to come forward? Hearing nothing, I'll move on to Community Date Board.
Absolutely. I wrote these down because this is going to go on for an hour. I'm just kidding. 3 minutes. Saturday on January 25th, over at Whitehall Community Park on the lower level, there is dog bones and donuts. So bring your furry friends and your furry family members and bring your appetite for the donuts as well. I don't know where the donuts are coming from. Dog bones and donuts. On Saturday, February 1st, from 10 to 11:30 is over at Ashford on Broad. If you've not been there, it's a nice community, 4801 Broad Street. They're having a step-by-step macrame. So if you've ever wanted to learn macrame, this is your good opportunity. Saturday, February 8th, over at the Whitehall Community Park over at the YMCA, there will be Toy Story 4, the movie, playing at 3:30 p.m. And there'll be activities beginning at 3. They're also going to be having pizza and popcorn there, and they're going to be making forkies. And if you don't know what a forky is, Toy Story 4 will go ahead and show you what that is. Every Thursday in February, they are going to be having a teen program over at the Y. And Parks and Rec is going to be sponsoring the very first one over at Rosemore. It's a Buckeye video game truck. And then the last 3 weeks in February, it'll be over at the Y. And that's what I've got.
That's my report. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Does anybody else have anything for?
The Whitehall Education Foundation celebration on the 31st at 6 p.m. And then that Saturday, February 1st at 6:15, the Whitehall Yearling High School Alumni Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Hearing nothing further, move to poll council. Councilperson Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about the Martin Luther King program and to thank my co-partner, Attorney Bivens. This was our second annual, and every year I believe it gets better. I want to congratulate those scholarship recipients, Zacharias Halian, excuse me if I don't get your name correctly, and Yabashira Tadis. They gave brilliant, I believe, speeches, and then followed up with a really good follow-up on what they actually learned from the speeches that they gave, the New America, or the Other America. And so we want to follow up and continue to stay close with them to see what they're going to do in the school, take that information, and kind of garner some more information for students and to get them more involved in what it means to be a good citizen of the city Whitehall. Also, I attended the Bexley Whitehall Rotary Recruitment Breakfast, building collaborations with other communities. And I just believe that that's one of our responsibilities, are to be good neighbors, not just for the citizens of Whitehall, but for our neighboring cities as well. And so I am just thankful that we can come together and collaborate on information and move forward to make our cities the best that they can possibly be. I want to also just say thank you for the people that are in attendance today and for giving your an opportunity to speak and your information, and we will be thinking about that. I just believe that we all need to be good neighbors, no matter what that looks like, and we're not going to satisfy everything, but being a good neighbor is, I believe, the first step of community. And with that, I don't have anything else. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilperson Coniston.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for viewing. Jim, I don't think that we kind of answered your question as far as what the next moves are. My committee is the Safety Committee. We do discuss things that are brought forth to us, so I'll be sure to discuss this at my next committee meeting with all council members. Then, Dan, I'll get with you as well on this, so we can go ahead and get some answers to them. Thank you all again for coming and speaking.
Thank you. Councilman Cantor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start off and thank Councilmember Elmore, City Attorney Bivens. I attended yesterday, although I did have an appointment. The two young adults talking, phenomenal. I learned something that I didn't know. And after I left my doctor's, I came home, I Googled a little bit more, and I was amazed. The platform that you had set up was really good, and we had a good turnout. I actually reached out to Stephanie Mingo this morning. Last night I thanked her for coming to Whitehall, and I thought it was very nice, and she's the environmental judge here. So I wanted to thank you. It's really good. It was better than last year, and it was much more entertaining. And that was a really good thing on the scholarships that you gave your kids there. very well deserved. I know they worked hard on it. To stand up here and to talk in front of everybody that was here is a very good thing. So, I want to thank everybody for coming, especially on the two ordinances that you're talking about. We just introduced this last Tuesday, and I'm glad I came. I wasn't supposed to be back last week. Tonight was supposed to be my first night. I encourage you and people that are watching to call us. Come. We have 2 more times that you can come. You can actually come 2 more times when we discuss this. We got into the discussion last Tuesday. This is the second time that this has been brought up since I've been on city council. And I encourage you to call your council representative. It's very important to hear from you. I think that's all I have to say on that matter right now, but I want to thank y'all for coming, and as always, hi girls, Daddy loves you.
Thank you. Councilman Heck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for everybody that came out tonight and watching from home. Thank you for those that got to speak or spoke on different matters. I know it's not easy. I echo what other people said. Thank you, City Attorney Bivens and Lori Elmore for the MLK event yesterday. It was very moving to listen to those children speak, and then, you know, that they were so passionate about it. It's not just a day to be at home. Really resonated with me because I have kids of my own and I work with children. So that was great to hear that they understand why we take the day off. And that's really all I have. I echo what Councilman Cantor says about just coming and speaking to us with your concerns, not just on this issue, but any issue that you may have.
Thank you. Councilman Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to thank everyone watching and everyone that showed up this evening. And I believe at times there are people that don't think that we listen to what you have to say, but we are here to listen to the entire community. And like the other council people say, contact us if you have an issue, not just on this issue, but we very seldom hear anything. I mean, there's several people here, normally with maybe 1 or 2 or 3. I appreciate you showing up and expressing your concerns. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and at the risk of repeating what everybody else has said, we will look at this issue and attempt to resolve it, and that's what we have to do is resolve it. You can't lean at one side or the other. You have to figure out what works. Like collaborating and come to a resolution. That's what we'll do. And as Councilman Cantor said, we were just introduced to it last week as a draft. This is the first reading. It has 2 more readings. We have 2 more committees. So if those of you out there that want to engage in this process, maybe email us with solutions, examples from other communities. Let's work together and figure it out and see what we can come up with to make everybody happy, because it's not easy to do. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see everyone out here this evening, and again, hearing everyone's comments, on both sides. Mike, sounds like you had a wonderful event yesterday. I dare say you're probably the most engaged city attorney we've ever had. You are so full of information for our citizens, like the reports you give us about the numbers and all that. That's always really good information to hear. But I think you're doing a great job, and look forward to your next to that. So that's all I have to say, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to thank everyone for coming out. And on these 2 pieces of legislation, there's clearly 2 sides to it, and there's a lot of passion. I think everybody wants to get to a good conclusion and need to be sensitive to everyone involved in this. Obviously, we've got some folks out that shared their thoughts with us this evening, but we also need to be mindful of the silent folks that have not come out. So with that.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Could I say something?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I was talking about the Martin Luther King Day, I did not mention you, Councilwoman Elmore, and I'm so sorry. Mike was sitting right here, I had tunnel vision, you know how it is. But I just want to say thank you so much for your dedication and working together with the City Attorney's Office to pulling this thing off. I'm telling you all, it was awesome. It really touched me. And I know that it could not have happened without you, Lori, and without Mike coming together. And I just want to say thank you. And I did not mean anything, because I think I was having tunnel vision. And so just thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you so much.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
move to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call. Roll.
What are you doing? I'm looking at you.
Ask your last question.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Peck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned.